It can often be said that there is a fine line between love and hate. Many of us walk this line every day. Friends, family, and co-workers. I can't believe I ever liked this guy. Shitty dude. You're a fucking asshole. My personal favorite is I fucking hate that bitch. Then there are those who are always telling you about the human condition or that you need to stop being so hateful. They are the ones who say you must demonstrate humanity. For me, I'm just worried about my condition and the condition of my family. It's good to have friends, but be realistic. You can only trust friends from now on. And, in my case, not all relatives or friends had my back. It was a hard lesson that I learned the hard way. The best thing about it all was that I learned who my real family and friends are. My name is Pace Jensen. I am 29 years old, a former football player and an avid runner. I'm married to Amy. She's a hot little mama with an attitude to match. But the best thing in my life is that I am the father of 3 little boys. At the time of our collapse, Amy and I had been married for about 7 years. The reason we had children so quickly and often was because I couldn't get enough of my wife. I lived and breathed Amy. This is where I believe my downfall began. We said our vows the day after we graduated from college. We both graduated from UMass. Amy majored in secondary education, and I majored in management information systems. Amy got a job at one of the elite private schools in Dallas, and I worked at Empire Funding. We had a pretty good start in life. During our marriage, there were ups and downs like most marriages, but nothing serious. I think our first fight was when I wanted to buy a 1968 Shelby Cobra GT 500. It was a 2-door fastback with a 302 cubic inch 4.9L V8 engine GT 350. To top it off, it was candy apple red with 2 white stripes down the middle. Unlike some people I know, I could afford a $100,000 car, but I love classic cars. Anyway, like I said, Amy and I had a wonderful life. We lived pretty close to my family, and I thought that was good. My mom and dad were in their 50s, and I also had a younger brother named Rob. Rob was 17 years old and attended the same high school where Amy taught. In fact, she taught in his class, too. I think Rob was an Appa kid because he was 12 years younger than me. Rob and I were as close as you can be with a little brother who's 12 years younger than you. When something happened or when Rob needed something, I was expected to make a sacrifice. This is how my family lived. That was our motto. You need to have the courage to deal with this. Be a hero, son. Just give it to your little brother, and you'll be a better person in the long run. My father repeated this so often that it got to the point where I simply ignored it. Another good thing in my life was my best friend, Jeffrey Parks. He was the brother I wish I had. We've been best friends since 3rd grade. And if anyone knew how I felt, it was him. Jeff was an attorney, and I expected him to have my back in all legal matters. Anyway, last Monday when I got home, Amy told me that she had taken the boys to her sister's house. It was 4 houses down. When she told me that, I thought we'd be alone, if you know what I mean. But she said she wanted to tell me something. I didn't think life could get any better, but then Amy told me she was pregnant. I wanted to know when the baby was due so we could start buying things before the baby was born. I think I was as happy as a person can be. Damn it, I just hoped it would be a little girl so I could spoil her to death. But for some reason, Amy was a little out of it and had this distant expression on her face. I asked her what happened. Pace, this is not your child. Amy said it so quietly that I didn't hear it. What's going on, honey? Why are you so depressed? Pace, I love you, but I won't have your children anymore, Amy said. I was a little confused and asked her why. Amy, you always said you wanted a big family, so why such a sudden change? Lord, this won't be easy. Then Amy started beating around the bush as if anything she was going to say would change her life. Amy, I love you no matter what, so just tell me how you feel right now. Just say it. Then she stopped, took out her phone, and pressed the speed dial. Could you come here, please? Whoever she was talking to sounded like they knew more about it than I did. Amy, who was it? And what the hell is going on? Amy said. Just keep up the pace. I need help getting my words across to you. I don't want to spoil what I have to say. I asked her who was coming and what it was that she just couldn't tell me without help. Damn it! If you can't tell your husband, who the hell else could you tell? All sorts of thoughts were running through my head, none of them good. But what happened next shocked me. 2 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Amy answered the phone, and when she returned, she was followed by my mom, my dad, and my 17-year-old brother, Rob. Okay, Amy, what the hell is going on? Damn, how can I say this without hurting you? Rob just stepped in. Listen, Pace, Amy is in love with me. That's what she wants to say. Mom and Dad are here to support us, Rob said. Listen, bro, shit happens. We didn't want to fall in love, but we did. The baby she's carrying is mine, and we need you to accept that. Amy and I will be family, whether you like it or not. I started laughing, as if this was some kind of good joke, right? That's how it should be. Listen, Amy, what do you want to tell me? Nobody laughed. I looked back at Amy. She was looking at her feet. Amy, please look at me and tell me this isn't true. Tell me you're not such a fucking idiot. My father said, son, I know it's hard, but what's done is done. I know you're hurting right now, but Rob is your brother, and so we have to find a way to deal with this. We know it takes a lot, but sacrifices have to be made. I asked my mom if she was involved in this. She said, son, I love both of my boys. I don't want this to tear our family apart. You have to find a way to live with it. We are all family. You must be a hero in this matter. You need to find it in your heart to not be angry and do the right thing. I couldn't believe they were asking me to just sacrifice my life for a snotty little idiot because I was older. At that moment, and I mean that exact moment, I began to hate them all. I mean, seriously and with passion. The fine line between love and hate was broken. The question is, how much can I, a man, hate my family? The same family that betrayed me from all sides, my wife, brother. And what parent would agree to this travesty? How could I have known that it would only get worse? I couldn't stand it anymore. I turned and walked out with Amy and Mom in tow. Rob pulled Amy away from me. I walked 4 houses to pick up my children. A sheriff's deputy met me at her sister's house. For a moment, I thought Amy's sister Rachel was involved, but she looked just as shocked as I did. The sheriff's deputy told me that I was not allowed to see my children until the court made a custody decision. I looked around and felt that with every second the hatred was growing more and more. I asked the sheriff if I could go back to my own house. He asked whose name was on the mortgage. I said it was mine and only mine. Since there was no order preventing me from being at home, I turned to go home. As I walked past my father, he grabbed my hand. Pace, listen, son. Please don't do anything you'll regret later, my father said. We all need to sit down and discuss this as adults. I looked at him and told him to never call me fucking son again. No, get your fucking hand off me, or you'll regret this for the rest of your life. Now leave me alone, all you backstabbing bitches. I looked at Amy and told her, if I were you, I would hire a good lawyer. Because trust me, you'll need it. Enjoy your kids while you can. Now get the hell out and take these idiots with you. Before I could take another step, Rob shot me. He hit me on the right side of my face. Before I could jump away, my father grabbed me and Rob hit me again. I'm lucky Rob hits like a weakling, otherwise I would have been hurt. The sheriff jumped off the porch, ran up and attacked Rob. I broke free from my father's arms and punched him in the mouth. He fell to the ground and the look on his face was one of complete shock. He would never have believed that Pace, a reasonable child, would be so angry. When the fight ended, Rob and his father were arrested for assault. But little did I know that the best was yet to come. A couple of days later, the assistant district attorney called me and asked me to testify. At the same time, I just happened to mention that it all started with the fact that my 29-year-old wife, with whom I lived for 7 years, was pregnant with her 17-year-old brother. I also said that my brother went to 12th grade at the same school where Amy taught. They seemed to show some interest in this information. 2 days later, I went to meet the only person I could rely on, Jeffrey Parks, a lawyer. I arrived at his office in a good mood. It turned out to be another trip of treachery on the Pace-Jensen freeway. While waiting for him to finish, he walked out with his new client. Amy looked back, saw me, and grinned. I looked at Jeff and said, "Better, Jeff. You would do it with me." Jeffrey Parks turned and walked away. That's how it all worked out so quickly. Jeff was their man. He knew how I would react and cut me off. I never thought he would do something like this. I will always wonder why he decided to follow her. But then you know what? Who cares about his reasons? Because as soon as he said yes, he no longer existed to me. Fuck them! I had to laugh again. But there was a difference. It was just another reason to keep crossing the line. I was becoming a different person. Hate can do that to you. I turned to a lawyer of a different kind, Stevie Crust. Stevie was known as an ulcer. His motto was, "If you have money, go for it." He was about to close his office when I found him. I asked him if he wanted to be involved in a case that would soon become nationally known. He saw the dollar signs, unlocked his door, and we walked in. I wrote him a check for $10,000. I told him that sooner or later he would have to post bail for me. He told me he couldn't be involved in anything illegal. I told him about my plans. He laughed so hard he spat out his gum. I walked home, and when I got there was a sheriff's deputy sitting in the driveway. He got out of his car and asked who I was. I showed him my ID. He gave me an envelope and said, "You've been served." I went in and threw the papers into the trash can. I didn't even look at them. Then I made a few calls, had a snack, and went to bed. Tomorrow will be a new day. After a good night's sleep, I brushed my teeth, rinsed my mouth, and combed my hair. After all, I have to look my best. As soon as I walk out the door to grab the newspaper, bam, they attack me. "Mr. Jensen, is it true that your wife is a teacher and is pregnant with your teenage brother?" One reporter asked. Then another asked what school she taught at. Another asked why she was still free. I said I don't know who should do this. From that moment on, life turned into hell for everyone who was involved in this sad case. Reporters were stationed outside Amy's school, my parents' house, Jeff's office, and Amy's sister's house. Jeff loved publicity, but not this kind. When Amy and my ex-parents first approached Jeff, he was under the impression that Rob was at least 18, not 17. The next thing made Jeff even more angry. This was when his office was picketed by a group of family rights advocates. One of the protesters doused him with cow urine. The next morning, I appeared on the Nancy Grace show, and she called Amy anything but a child of God. If any of you watch the Nancy Grace TV show, you know that once she gets the story, she's like a dog with a bone. From the first moment to the end of the story, Nancy's reporting was dedicated to Amy and her merry band of misfits. "Hey everyone, a child molester is walking free on our streets and is pregnant with the child of an impressionable young man. Where's the district attorney?" Nancy shouted. I recorded the show. I looked pretty dapper, I think so myself. But the camera does add 10 pounds. 2 days later, Amy was arrested for sex with a minor, breach of public trust and rape. Rob was removed from his parents' custody and sent to a juvenile detention center. They eventually learned that he had to stay there until he turned 18. A month later, I sat in the courtroom across from Amy and my former family. She was represented by an asshole who used to be my friend. The only person I felt sorry for was my mother. She just sat there looking sad. It was heartbreaking, but that's life. Amy and Mrs. Jensen have called me hundreds of times over the past month, asking if I would sit down and talk to them before things got too far. I asked Amy one question. "Did you sit and talk to me before you had sex with my brother?" She didn't answer, so there was no need to talk. After Amy was arrested, my children were returned to me. At a quick custody hearing, the judge awarded me full custody, alimony, and a house that was already in my name. As the criminal trial approached, I had to testify. I wanted to make sure that this fallen woman would serve a long time in prison, but it was not destined to happen. Amy never went to trial. She took a plea deal and received 3.5 years. In her statement at sentencing, she asked for my forgiveness. I almost felt sorry for her. Her life was ruined. Her teaching career is over, and worst or best, she will have to register as a sex offender for the rest of her life. 4 years have passed since then. I took the children and moved 2,000 miles away. Now that our family consisted of 7 people, my 3 sons and Amy's 2 young daughters. We became a smaller version of the Brady family. I know, the BTB crowd is going to call me a wimp. And guess what? They would be damn wrong. Do you think I'm stupid enough to stay with any failing woman who has my ex-little brother? Hell no, my wife's name is spelled Amy. I met her 4 months after we moved. Amy is a motorcycle cop, and the day she gave me a ticket changed my life. When she returned to her motorcycle, I took one look at her ass and knew that she would be my next wife. It took a little begging, but once I got her into bed, it was the greatest day of my life. Did I mention she has her own handcuffs? I love her to death, but it took her a long time to overcome my mistrust. Amy has dealt with a lot of crap over the years, and she's been through just as much. She's just like me. She doesn't trust shit. She tests me the same way I test her, and it works for us. But most of all, I like the devil in bed. Bye. So sweet, Amy. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.